Welcome to Real Fit, a podcast featuring real conversations with real women athletes. I'm your host, Pam Moore. I'm a freelance writer, body positive health coach, certified personal trainer, and a mom of two. And like you, I don't have time for bullshit. I created this show for every busy, badass woman who struggles with the question, am I enough? I'm here to tell you that you are. And my goal is to share stories that will inspire you and let you know you're not alone. Thanks for being here for this episode of Real Fit. I am so excited to introduce you to my first guest, Liz Willey, who is one of my favorite people of all time. And full disclosure, she's also my sister, so I know a lot about her. We talk nearly every day, often multiple times per day, and yet I learned a lot about her during this interview. And I'm excited for you to learn a lot about her during this interview too. She is a pediatric speech-language pathologist turned personal trainer. She is passionate about giving regular people the tools to make fitness part of their everyday lives. And although she was athletic growing up, after graduating high school, she stopped playing team sports, and for many years, fitness just was not part of Liz's life. When she did find her way back to fitness in her 20s, her goal was simply to lose weight, and the habit did not stick. But more recently, after having her second child, she started exercising regularly again. This time, it was less about weight loss and more about just wanting to feel good. Now she's inspiring others to feel good in their bodies through her personal training business. And you can learn more about that at her website, which is lizwilleyfitness.com. And it's LIZWILLEY fitness.com. In this episode, we talk about a lot of things, but some of the highlights are how Zumba actually changed Liz's life, making the shift from exercising for aesthetic reasons to working out just for the joy of it, Liz's relationship with alcohol and exploring a sober life, the challenges of a midlife career change, which I can totally relate to, tips on how to approach intimidating challenges, letting go of habits that don't serve you, finding that sweet spot between trying to level up but also feeling like you're good enough as you are, and the power of trusting yourself. With no further ado, let's dive into the episode, and thanks again for being here. Welcome to the podcast, Liz Willey.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. You are my first guest, which is so exciting. Now, I've known you literally forever. Listeners who don't know, Liz Willey is my sister. Our maiden name is Sanel, but that's why we have different last names. But Liz, for everybody who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are right now? As far as I know, you just did a big career shift, so I want to hear about that.
Sure. So I got my master's degree in speech language pathology 11 years ago. And I worked in early intervention for most of that time. That's my favorite population. So I would do visits in people's houses, working with kids from birth to 3 years old. And I had kids. I had my first child 7 years ago. And now I have two little boys. And ever since I had kids, I started to work part-time in that field. And about a year ago, I became so interested in fitness that I decided to become certified as a personal trainer. So I was working, when COVID started, I was still working as a speech therapist, and we moved towards telehealth. So that was interesting, and I learned how to provide therapy as a telehealth therapist. And then I became certified this summer. So it was like COVID. I learned teletherapy. I became certified as a personal trainer over the summer after that. And I took a break from working altogether in speech. And so I used the summer to sort of start a new business and to kind of travel in another direction.
Super exciting.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Can I ask you, I feel like we're all kind of dealing with COVID in different ways, and I think it's affecting us moms especially. Can you back up a little bit and there's a couple nuggets in what you just said that I want to back up to. But first I want to talk a little bit about, can you talk about what it felt like to try to be doing the mom thing, doing the speech thing? I know you were studying so hard for your ACE certification ever since the fall. How was that for you? / how is that for you?
Yeah, it was and is very challenging. I think the hardest part is just finding the time to get it all done. It felt draining because I felt like if I wasn't actually doing my work, I would be sticking my kids on their iPad so that I could do speech therapy work, which felt very bad. Luckily, I only worked a couple hours a week, so it wasn't too terrible. I don't know how moms do it that work full time and help their kids go to school. And then it was hard because I needed time to study. So I would often wake up really early to either work out and study. And then I would try to stay up late to have time to study. So it just felt like there wasn't a lot of balance. And it's sort of something I just did. And luckily I passed my test, and now I'm staying up late to do other things, like kind of starting my business. It's a challenge balancing everything.
For sure. And backing up, you said you started to get really interested in fitness and started exploring becoming a personal trainer about a year ago. Talk to me a lot about what fitness has meant to you over the years. Like, what I remember is you being the captain of the tennis team. Just for listeners, I was, let us say, not athletic. Liz is my little sister by 6 years. Liz would like touch something and it would turn to gold. And that includes anything athletic. So you were not only like not crappy at tennis, like I took tennis lessons for years. I could not make contact with the ball. You were like, oh, tennis? I'll just pick that up. Oh, I'll just be team captain. So you were good enough to be captain. You were well liked. And, but you weren't like intense about it. If I remember correctly, you were just like, yeah, tennis is just like something that I do. And then in college, you were like, yeah, working out is like something that I don't do. Like, tell us about your journey.
Oh my gosh. So funny. So yeah, my journey. It's funny that that's your perspective, but that's because that's your lens. So my perspective is different. Well, I'm going to take it way back. We didn't play sports growing up. Like our parents did not, they just weren't, our parents are not athletic. So we did not value kind of team sports or like learning those things. It just wasn't really something we did. I'm just going to speak for you and say that I think that's true too.
Can I interject and just say, I do have fond memories of Dad, like on a nice spring night, like that smell of spring, like coming in the windows. And after dinner, Dad would be like, who wants to play a game of Rundown? And he would try really hard to show me how to toss a Frisbee. Do you toss a Frisbee? Do you throw a Frisbee? Whatever you do with a Frisbee, he would like try to show me that. And I remember him giving us a catcher's mitt and showing us like the quote unquote the right way to throw a ball and a football. I remember like the football was supposed to have a spiral, and I remember so I do remember
vaguely.
Okay, but I will totally agree. Our parents weren't like, you have to do a sport. Like they didn't even. I don't think they wanted us. They didn't care.
Mm-mm. They didn't care, I think. No. Yeah. And so I didn't really value exercise because it wasn't something that was valued in our home. And I'm not blaming them. It's just sort of the way that it was. So, and I don't recall ever trying to toss a Frisbee. I cannot play Frisbee. I'm terrible with Frisbee. So let's say that. But Dad and I played catch together. And that was something that we would do on like a nice night after dinner. We would throw the ball. And he always said I had a good arm. And that like made me feel so good because I felt like Dad was proud of me for, that thing. And anyways, that's something else. But, so I remember wanting to do gymnastics and some dance. But by the time I would advocate for myself and Mom did sign me up, she did what I asked. The other girls who were in that sport they had already had 6 years under their belt. And I sort of felt not good enough. I felt old enough to know that I wasn't as good as they were, and it just didn't feel good. And I wasn't really willing to kind of work so hard that I would be as good as that. I just didn't have the skill, but I think I would have liked it. So I wasn't confident, and then I would end up dropping out. So that's what I remember from sports being super young. And that's that. So it didn't put a great taste in my mouth. And then when I was in high school, I played, I was on the JV team for volleyball, and I was on JV. You don't probably remember this, but so I was not very good at the sports that I played, but I enjoyed them. And it was more for like the social piece. I thought it was fun. I made friends. It wasn't for fitness. It was more just for fun and like the teamwork aspect of it. And with tennis, I wasn't that good, but I asked for lessons, and I took lessons on the off season to get better. That was really important to me. And I got better. And that's sort of, I think they might've voted for captain, but so I didn't have to be, that good, but I worked my way up to singles. And it helped that my school was like an inner city school. It was a public school, and we weren't that good. So you didn't, like, I probably wouldn't have made it if I was in a better school, but that was sort of lucky for me that it boosted my confidence. I felt like I could try new things and it wouldn't, it would be okay. And that was sort of, I guess, the start of fitness, just high school sports. And then I went to college and did nothing.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing. Did you, as you were 4 years of like nothing, did you ever miss it?
If I ever joined a gym, they would give you that free personal training session, which to me would just like kill me. I was so sore. I couldn't even do anything after. And I was very unmotivated. I also partied a lot in college, and I don't know what that was about. I didn't drink in high school, so I don't know if it was like, the rite of passage where you're just going to party, but that came with weight gain. I didn't know about nutrition. I thought that because I was going through my phase of being a vegetarian, that I could make these like massive salads at the dining hall, and they would have like everything you could imagine that was vegetarian with lots of dressing. And then I would go out and binge drink on the weekends and not really move my body because I wasn't into fitness. And it was just sort of a bad combination. And I felt bad about myself. I never really shared that, but I was not super happy in my undergrad years. And it was this cycle that kind of just repeated itself. And I did not learn about the joy of fitness until I took a year off in between undergrad and grad school. And that's when I started to take Zumba, and I loved Zumba. And I think that that's what got everything started for me.
Zumba. Tell me more about, I remember that. Vaguely, tell me more about that. Like, who got you to go to Zumba? Do you remember your first class? You've always been a good dancer.
Thank you. I've always enjoyed dance, but I didn't actually take dance like we talked about. So I think that because my best friend, Carrie, became an instructor for Zumba, we would take classes at different places, and then she was teaching Zumba from her dance studio, and I would go there and take it. I never really joined a gym. I just started with Zumba, and I loved how it made me feel. It made me feel sexy. It made me feel sweaty. It made me feel energized. I just loved it. And I thought, if this is working out, sign me up. I think I want to do a little bit more of this. I liked it.
Now I want to go to a Zumba class really bad.
I take a virtual Zumba class. You can do it too. I'll give you her name.
I would love that. I love it. So Zumba was the start. And at that point, that was between college and grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Then what? How did you go from like Zumba lover to, you know what, I love this so much, I want to bring it into other people's lives as a trainer?
So with Zumba came, I think I started to track calories. And I just want to not forget to talk about that, because Zumba made me feel amazing, but Zumba didn't change my body. And I didn't know anything about nutrition until that break. And that's when I started to sort of count calories. And it was at first sort of empowering, because I realized, what I put in kind of makes a difference. And like, your body could change based on kind of what you are eating. And I think I definitely sort of went a little, I was empowered at first, but then I think I took it to another level, and I was a little unhealthy with it when I was in grad school. I lost a lot of weight. I got really thin. I was working out because it felt good, but I was dieting because I wanted to look good. And I ultimately, now I'm in this place where I feel a balance of, I feel both. I feel like I look good, and I feel like I feel good about what I'm fueling my body with. And I don't think as much about the way I obsessed with it before. I'm not obsessing anymore again.
Like I remember that like in grad school, I feel like when you were at peak diet,
craziness.
Crazy. Yeah. I remember visiting you in Pittsburgh, and you were like, oh, you got to try this like disgusting low calorie, like take a sugar cone and put in fat-free vanilla yogurt and add like a fat-free this and add a sugar-free that. And it's like, and I don't know, I think we both convinced ourselves. We were like, oh my God, this is good, but it's not satisfying, right? So you're like, oh, it's so good. I want 100 of them.
Yeah, definitely. I was into like low calorie, fat free, everything, whatever I could do to have it be like low calorie. I thought it was good. I tricked myself into thinking it was good because that was what I wanted, but I don't think that was really good now.
Yeah, let's talk about, well, it's funny that you were into all this low calorie shit, if I can say the word shit. I think I can say whatever I want in my own podcast. And then you met, for listeners that don't know, Lizzie's husband is a chef and a really amazing chef. And I don't mean just like somebody that like enjoys cooking and he makes a frittata. Like he went to culinary school. Do you say culinary or culinary?
Culinary, I don't know.
Very fancy. He went to culinary school, and his livelihood is food. So how was that, meeting a real foodie and also being like, you know what's really good? A fat-free whatever.
You know, it was fine. And having your podcast kind of come up made me sort of make a timeline. I'm really bad with memory and dates and things like that. So I made a little timeline of my life.
I love it.
And that was actually helpful because I've gone down memory lane and I've sort of examined my history. And when I met Josh, it was that transition year that I took off where I was like starting to love Zumba, but I wasn't really crazy with diet until I went to grad school. So when I met him, I was not my thinnest self, and that was super, it was what it was, but I liked it because I did lose a lot of weight after I met him. And I knew he liked me for me, not because of the way that I looked, which was really important just for like my confidence in our relationship. But I was not afraid to be eating whatever he wanted to cook me when we first started. So I enjoyed it and I ate all the food. I don't even think I realized that it was healthy or not. Like it was sort of like it didn't matter. Okay. So when I met him, it was all gravy. It was good. Nice. I got a little crazy after we started dating, and he embraced my craziness, I think.
So how did it go from Zumba to weightlifting to personal training?
Okay. So in grad school, I started to learn about the release of like just how working out felt like a stress reliever for me. And I was pretty stressed out. I worked really hard in grad school. I've, just never worked so hard in my life to get where I wanted to go and get that degree. So I spent a lot of time studying. And that was when I started to decide, I think I'll go for a run to burn off some of my energy. And sort of that was when fitness just became like a positive. It was always a positive thing. I liked Zumba, but I thought, I think I could do a little bit more of this. And I remember I would sometimes get up really early before like my clinical rotation at the VA hospital. And I would get to the gym for like, 5 or 6 in the morning and go on the elliptical for, 40 minutes just to kind of clear my head before my day would start. And I thought, wow, Pam would be so proud of me because I'm just totally different. So it started there. And then I liked I think jogging was sort of the thing that I did throughout grad school. And then I injured my knee. When I got home, I remember I just felt like I couldn't run anymore. And I got engaged shortly after that. And I was so motivated by my wedding, very extrinsic reasons. I just wanted to look really good for my wedding. So I joined the gym. And that's when I really didn't learn weight training yet, though. I was still into cardio. I liked Zumba. I liked spin. I wanted to just be thin. I didn't think about building my muscles. It just wasn't there in sort of my journey. And then we got married, and fitness sort of, I would go to Zumba. I would still go to Zumba on and off, even until I had my kids. That was the one thing I was really consistent about. I remember going to Zumba very pregnant and loving Zumba. I just have always loved how it made me feel. And then it was after I had my second child when I didn't bounce back. So they call it bouncing back. I was able to get back to where I was before I had my second child, just through, I think I did maybe my Fitness Pal. I was tracking some nutrition and doing Zumba, and that was it. And I couldn't kind of get where I wanted to go with my second. I don't know if I was in a different mental space or what it was, but one of my very good friends was a Beachbody coach. And she was having great success with how she was feeling and looking in life through those consistent workouts. And I said, maybe you can help me. And so that sort of was when I started really consistently. That was, I would say at this point, that was 4 years ago. So he was not quite yet 2, but I remember thinking, how do I have an almost 2-year-old, but I still look like I'm like super postpartum? I just was down on myself. I just wasn't feeling like how I wanted to feel. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like I had energy. I was working. But we're not working out. Life wasn't going the way I wanted it. And I knew I needed to make a change. And so.
And then you read that book. You read that Rachel Hollis book that, no offense, Rachel Hollis, which I'm sure you're not listening. I didn't love it, but you loved it. Girl, Wash Your Face. Right?
I did read that. I did. Yes.
Yeah. You were like, that book is changing my life. And I was like, I'm going to read it. And I was like, it doesn't resonate with me, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that around the same time?
I forgot about that. You have such a good memory. Yep. It was right around the same time. Yeah. Self-help is self-help. So sure. I was helping myself to, exactly. Yeah. So I just started to, workout in the morning was big. And I would just do like a half an hour workout, pretty much every day. And it felt like that's something I'm doing for me. I felt like I was working kind of for my family. I guess I was working for myself also, to feel like I was contributing to our family really. And I needed a break from momming. So work feels good because you wear another hat, but then working out felt like something I was doing like just for me because it just felt so good. And that's when I started working out regularly. I did not have the thought to become a personal trainer until like 2 years after that, I think, just about. And it was a crazy thought and you encouraged me. So
I'm glad. Can we talk a little bit about Beachbody and all that messaging? I want to talk about how did that land for you when you started versus like how you hear it now? And for anybody listening that maybe hasn't tried a Beachbody workout, I will say I've been to, dozens of group fitness classes in my life. And I really feel like the Beachbody instructors are quality instructors. I do feel like they give you better cueing than even somebody in person. However, there is a significant dose of, I don't want to say fat shaming, but it's based on a lot of diet culture messages saying things like, just the very name, Beachbody. Like in my mind, if you have a body and you're at the beach, well, boom, you have a beach body. And as you can tell from their message, you want to get that good body and you want to torch that belly fat and you want to burn those love handles. And it's kind of a lot of self-loathing mixed in with push yourself, you can be better, so anyways, what's your take on all that, Liz?
Yeah, my perspective has changed. The more you know, the better you do, I think. And when I was in that phase of doing Beachbody, that was great for me. I loved it. I embraced the message. It motivated me. I thought I was feeling empowered. It was good. It would be interesting. I haven't done a Beachbody workout in quite some time. I would think it would be interesting to do one now and listen to what they say, because now when I hear someone, and it's not necessarily Beachbody, it's just things on social media. When I see these things, and I tend to unfollow because I don't like it. I don't like when people say, oh, you did that workout, you sweat so much, now you earned your dessert. That kind of language, that kind of talk really bothers me. But that's new. That's recent for me to have changed this lens and to sort of say, I don't need to accept this. I don't like diet culture. I'm sort of really shifting in a lot of ways with me and what I'm interested in and who I want to be following, to the point where Instagram knows, how they get in there, they see who you're following, and then they think, oh, you might want to follow this other person, because the things I'm into now it was never even on my radar before are things like the body positivity movement, anti-diet culture, potentially, like I'm really exploring the idea of sober mom life, just being sober. So I'm just, I think we're always evolving, and I think that it's okay if it's working for you. If it stops working for you, move in another direction. And so just to take it back to your original question was, what do I think about Beachbody? I think if you like it, do it. if you're sort of exploring or open to, maybe I don't know if that's okay with me, be open, allow yourself to kind of go in another direction and explore other things.
Yeah. And actually that's a great segue, because I do still want to come back to all of what was involved in putting out your shingle as a certified personal trainer and letting people know, hey, I'm here, you can work with me, and we'll come back to that. But for now, let's talk about first of all, I love how you said, if it's working for you, hey, great. If it's not working for you, let's go in a different direction. I think so many of us, especially moms, we're so busy, especially during the pandemic, trying to deal with so many things. It is so easy to just sort of be on autopilot. You're just checking off that list and like, okay, do we have groceries? Do we have diapers? Like if you have little ones, we're running out of paper towels, all those, little things. And I want to acknowledge here that you and I definitely are privileged to be able to have the time and space and ability to step back and look at our lives and go, is this how I want to be living? I want to acknowledge that some people don't have that luxury. It is a luxury. So having acknowledged that, how do you do that? How do you give yourself the time and space to really go, hey, is this the life I want to be living?
That's a good question. I think by thinking, I've become a lot more introspective, I guess would be the word, and maybe it's even due to the pandemic. I feel like in some ways I have more time because we're doing less. We're not, we're not shuttling around from place to place. I feel like my days are slower paced because we aren't going to soccer practice and Sunday school and, all of these things. So that time in some ways has allowed me to think about, am I living the life I want to live? This is it for right now. I don't want to think about what it's going to be like when we get back to it, because this is for now. This is where I'm at. So I guess if I'm sitting here on social media, scrolling through thinking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I delete the app. I deleted Facebook because it just feels like it's wasting my life. But when I'm on Instagram and I see an account with these, images of befores and afters, and I think, why is the after so much better? Why do people like this? I decide I'm going to unfollow them because it's just not making me happy. So I guess I've just started to think about, is this really making me happy? And if it's not, I'm sort of going to stop. Just a mental shift.
I think it's really interesting that in a way the pandemic was an opportunity. And that's, I feel like a lot of people are sort of reevaluating their lives. I think a lot of us with the pandemic, with all of our routines destroyed, it's like a chance to start from scratch.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's cool. So tell me about this shift to the possibility of sober living and like what that means and how that started, and anything you want to share about your relationship with alcohol.
Okay. So I think I touched on it a little bit before already, with alcohol, how I didn't drink in high school. Mom and dad were very, very strict with me. So
me too, just say.
They just were strict. So I wasn't doing any drinking in high school. And so analyzing that a little bit more, I don't know if it's because I was sort of rebelling against that. I couldn't do it before, so I'm going to go crazy right now. It could have been a little bit of that mixed with like rite of passage, mixed with, I didn't drink my freshman year of college really barely at all because I dated somebody who was still in high school, and he was sort of like afraid I was going to go find somebody or do, I don't know. And so I just sort of didn't. And so I think I also was like, screw that. I'm in a new college. I'm single. I'm going to do it. And so I just did it. And I felt terrible. I would get sick. It was really bad. I just was a disaster the whole next day. And that was college. And I would just, every week do the same thing. And I didn't learn anything, and I didn't think there was a problem. I just didn't, my headspace was, this is fine. This is just what's done. Luckily I changed a little bit, and I just must have toned it down. I didn't drink at all in grad school because I was studying so much. I took school really seriously when I was getting my master's. And then I just really, I would consider myself a social drinker after that, while I was dating Josh, newly married, have, and then I had children and I still drink sometimes. The difference though, and I'm not proud about this, but I do want to share, is that every once in a while, even post having children, I will overdo it. I've had 2 glasses of wine and then I have the third. And then after the third, I think, yeah, I'm going to have more. And then I have so much that I have a night where I get sick. And that just feels bad in so many ways. I feel like I'm destroying my body, but I care so much about my body that I don't know why I would do that to myself. Also, what kind of a parent are you when you're that drunk? You rely on the other parent to not be, but it's just, I guess there's a lot of things that I think are good about social media. So I'm going to say that Instagram, I think, is really the first time I saw this sober mom movement. And it was, putting these memes up there about mommy juice. And it's something I'd heard all the time and I never thought twice about it. But it sort of challenged the idea that, why do we accept this? Why do we say that, like, join the club and drink your wine every night to relax? Like, why? And so that's just been this newer evolution for me. And I really am liking the idea that it doesn't actually relax me to drink. I like the people that I'm with. I like hanging. I miss people. I mean, COVID has really ruined a lot for us, but I don't need alcohol to have a good time. And I'm sort of allowing myself to just embrace that idea and kind of see where that goes.
I like that. And I want to say thank you, because we've been talking a lot about this, not on the podcast, like in actual life. And every Friday night, Shabbat dinner happens, and, wine, it's like a commandment that you're supposed to have wine. It's like a religious ritual, right? And what usually happens, I don't think God actually ever said, though, and just to be clear, I'm not a super religious Jew, right? But I don't think God said you should drink so much that you pass out, and then in the morning you're like, oh, why did I do that? I think God was just like, say the blessing if there is a God, right?
Yeah.
But
totally agree.
For some reason, I'm always like, oh shit, like dinner's not ready. I'm gonna, you know what, Dan, like let's have a cocktail before dinner. And then, let's have that wine with the blessing. And you know what, let's keep on topping off that wine glass. And I never feel good. I don't sleep well. I don't feel good the next day. And you and I have been talking about all this stuff. And I've been like, kind of on the same page as like, what am I doing? Is this really how I want to live? And what often happens is I drink too much, and then I'm like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. And then like a week later, I'm like, you know what, though, it's Friday. And like a week is like the perfect amount of time to kind of forget how bad you felt the week before. But this Friday, I was like, no, you know what? Like we talked about, I got a fancy glass and I put in my grapefruit juice, and I think I topped it off with a little seltzer, and it was really nice. And it was just as festive. I feel like God doesn't care if it's, it's the spirit of the thing, not the law of the thing. And it felt really good. Felt really good on Saturday morning to be like, yeah, so didn't need that. Don't miss that.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So thank you for the inspiration.
You're welcome. I was inspired by the book that I read. So
let's talk about that. What was the name of the book?
It was called The Naked Mind.
The Naked Mind. I am going to link to that in the show notes.
I believe Annie Grace is the author.
I believe you're right. And I'm pretty sure she lives in Colorado, actually.
Okay.
Is the whole thing that she's about the sober curious movement, right? Is that her? Or is that
no, that's someone else. I'm pretty sure she's about total sobriety.
Total sobriety. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the career shift. Are you willing to talk candidly about what were some of the challenges that came with switching careers and putting yourself out there among friends and family and on social media, and being willing to publicly say, hey, this is what I do now, you can hire me?
It's really scary to be something different, because usually when you start something new, you're not excellent at it because you're new at it. And so I've been trying my best to be gentle with myself and know that when you do new things, no one expects you to be perfect. But but I'm just going to try them and do them anyways. It's the hardest part for me is I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I don't like doing something and having it not be perfect, but I think that the flip side of that is just not doing anything and being stagnant. That's even worse. So just getting out there and doing it, and not getting overwhelmed, I would say.
Yeah. And tell me a little more about like, what are the specific fears?
Specifically?
Yeah.
I think my fear with becoming a personal trainer, there's a few. One used to bother me more when I was in the process of like studying than actually now that I'm doing it, it doesn't faze me. But I think I thought before I need to have a perfect body. I thought I needed to be perfect. I see these Instagram accounts. I see perfect bodies everywhere I look. Although I've sort of changed that because I sort of unfollow those, not that I unfollow perfect bodies. I think people can have perfect bodies and know a lot and be somebody, that are inspirational to me. But I think what's more inspirational are the trainers out there that actually look like a normal person, and because that aligns more with my views. My views are that I work out because it makes me feel good. I want other people to feel good. I don't care if your body is perfect. My body is not perfect. And I think I thought before I was afraid that people wouldn't think I was good at my job or take me seriously enough because I don't have washboard abs. But I know that doesn't matter to me. And if you want to work with me, it shouldn't matter to you. And
I think
sort of,
great.
yeah.
I think that's
Thank
great.
you.
Can we just sort of have a caveat here that we're kind of using the word perfect, like in air quotes, like,
yes.
Right?
Oh yeah. So you can't see that with the,
Yeah. Okay. I love that.
Yeah. I had another fear. Oh, the other fear, I think, and this is maybe everybody can relate to this, is that when you try something new, maybe it's just me. I think I was afraid, like, what if nobody comes? What if I fail? What if I start this business and I'm not successful? So I will just say I'm super lucky that I'm sort of doing this as like a side hustle, kind of. It would be wonderful if I make some money, but I'm doing it because I like it and I love it. And so that starting it out feels fulfilling to me just because I'm doing something I'm passionate about and I really want to be doing it. It's not really my bread and butter, thank God, because I'm not making much money. But I also sort of have faith that if I keep on putting effort in and I keep on working towards where I want to go, I think I'm going to get there. I have a lot of passion, and I think that I'm not going to stop just because my classes aren't, quote unquote full. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to get more clients. And I think it's about persistence, but definitely there's that fear of failure. What if I don't, what if nobody wants to learn from me? That's scary.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I get that. And so how do you deal with that? Like, I've seen you calling me like, I don't know about this. Oh, actually, when we talked about your sort of, we're all about the journey in this conversation, your YouTube journey. I love watching how, I don't know, maybe it was only 8 weeks ago, that you were like thinking about putting out your first YouTube video. Mm-hmm. And that sounded really intimidating. And I can speak from my own limited experience. I have not ever edited a video, but just the idea of podcasting has freaked me out really badly because there's so much tech stuff that I'm like, oh, my head's spinning. I think maybe I just won't do it. Mm-hmm. And now you're putting out YouTube videos with some frequency. You're getting them out there. They look good. Tell me about just whatever challenges were in place with putting out a YouTube video and how you overcame those.
Okay. Thank you for the compliment. Sure. A couple tips for overcoming the challenges. One, surround yourself with people who support you and can kind of talk you off that ledge when you get worked up. So for me, that's you. You've gotten a few of my phone calls like, I'm so overwhelmed. What am I going to do? And then your advice has been something that I take when I call you and I'm at the edge. And it's something I remind myself when I haven't called you and I'm just getting a little bit worked up. But it's basically to break it down, make a list. What are the things, what's the big picture? And then what are the little steps that you need to take to get there? And then I sort of organize my list and I think, okay, what's the first thing I'm going to work on? Because it's just a lot easier to work on at one piece than every single thing. So I often used Google to just like Google, how do you do this? How do I edit? What's the best free, editing software? And I would kind of go from there. I'd watch somebody's YouTube video about how to use iMovie. And that's how I learned. And it was sort of trial and error. And I think that something that I've gotten more comfortable with from my first video to sort of my more current videos, even though it hasn't been that long, is that at first I didn't speak. I would just do the video and I would mute it. And I would just type in, this is the next move. This is the next move. This is the next move, where I think I just wasn't confident. You have to start somewhere. And I think you need to understand with anything that you're doing that's new, it's okay to change it from time to time. Once I became more comfortable doing the workout, I wanted to talk to my audience, because how else are they going to get to know me? Where I wasn't able to start there, it's okay to think, okay, this time I'm going to use audio. This time I'm going to speak, because people probably want to hear your voice and they get to know you that way and they like you. And if they don't like you, then they can move on and find somebody else. And that's okay too. So sort of allowing myself to change as I've continued the process has been helpful too.
Yeah, it sort of gives you the freedom to go, okay, whatever decision I make is not set in stone. And then it doesn't come with all the pressure. It's just a for now. And like you said before, it kind of fits right in with like YouTube videos are kind of a metaphor for life, right? See if it's working for you. If it's working for you, keep doing it. If it's not, try something new and see what will work, right? How do you kind of find that sweet spot, both like during a workout and also like in life? Like I see you leveling up. I see you being more aware of who you want to be and moving in the right direction, but also you want to be gentle on yourself, like you said, as you're starting a business. And kind of, does your process for, does my question make sense? Like, how do you find that sweet spot between like pushing yourself to where you're going to be a level up, but also going, hey, you know what? Like, we're reading all these articles of like, hey, you need to learn to like, I don't know, play the ukulele, and you need to do a handstand, and maybe even learn how to tap dance and basket weave during the quarantine because you got no commute. And it's like, what? Where do you find that sweet spot?
That's a really good question. But I think that for me, the sweet spot would be coming to peace kind of with, and I'm not perfect. I don't want you to think I like have it all together all the time, because you know that I don't. But I think that when you kind of are feeling like, for the most part, you're doing things in life the way you want to be doing them, like I move my body pretty much every day because it feels good to. And if it doesn't feel good, I'm okay with not doing it. I feel like if my workout, say I planned it and it was going to be lower body, but my glutes are still sore from the workout I did 3 days before. And I decide, you know what? I'm able to just go for a walk this morning, get 45 minutes of a walk in and listen to a podcast. I'm okay with that because that still kind of fuels me. So I think being flexible is the way to kind of balance everything, kind of realizing that even though you plan something, you're not always going to stick to the plan. And that needs to be okay, because otherwise you're just going to beat yourself up about it and feel bad. So I think kind of just learning to trust yourself, because you know that ultimately your decisions you're making, you're trying to do the best you can. And I think everybody is just trying to do the best they can.
So learning.
Did that answer your question?
I think it did. It's learning to trust yourself, which actually is so much easier said than done, right? If you are bombarded by those before and after pictures and you are, bombarded by those messages that are like mommy juice, and you're like, trust myself. Oh, I can't do this. I better have a glass of wine. Like all that. Where do you that's so hard. I feel like it's really hard to trust yourself.
I'll tell you how. Surround yourself. I think that this is the newest thing for me. The shift in my everything has been when you surround yourself with how you want to be or what you like, you're gonna feel better. So I like following the normalized normal body accounts because I don't see perfect things all the time. So I don't feel like I need to be perfect because I'm human. And so I think when you surround yourself with what you want to be, you're just naturally it's just going to fall into place.
I love it. Does that involve reevaluating some of your friendships?
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Yeah. Is that have you thought actively about like, maybe this is somebody I want to spend less time with? How do you negotiate that?
That has been hard. For the most part, my good friends are my good friends, and they're not, they're not changing, and they will understand. This whole sober movement is really new for me. And so I've sort of, we have our Zoom get-togethers. Some of us have brand new babies. Some of us have older kids. And we usually have a glass of wine while we're getting together. And I've been having my seltzer. And my friends are my friends. They support me. They're not like, where's your glass of wine? They're not shaming me because I decided not to. They're sort of like, you're a little crazy, but do you, girl? And that's what you need in life. You need those friends that are sort of like, that's cool. Like, if you want to do that, you can do that. So, yeah.
Great. Okay. And finally, I want to do the quick set. So, and
oh yeah.
For listeners, I gave Liz the questions in advance, so I'm not like totally putting her on the spot. So real quick,
good thing, because I'm bad with this.
But you're really good at taboo, which is interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
We'll have to dig into that. Oh, just an aside, we love the game Taboo, and we get really competitive. All right, what's your favorite meal?
I love food, but I think eggplant parm is my favorite.
Okay. Favorite book?
Oh, I'm really bad at remembering titles. Is it all of the ugly and beautiful things? Is that what it's called?
I think it's All of the Ugly and Wonderful Things.
Yep, that's it. I just looked at my list. Yes, that's it. I loved that book.
That's one of my favorites too, for everyone listening. If you want a gripping book that you just cannot put down, it's by Bryn Greenwood. So good. Okay.
I would stay up so late reading that one. I loved it.
Same. I had a night where I couldn't sleep and I was like, good, I'll just stay up all night reading that book. Favorite movie?
Clueless. Gotta be.
Favorite vacation spot?
I don't exactly have a favorite vacation spot, but I love the warm weather and I love the beach. So kind of take me away anywhere.
Okay. Pet peeve?
I have so many. So I would say my current pet peeve is when there is water on the bathroom floor and I step on it in my sock. I hate that. And my husband is like notorious for like, he doesn't even have any hair on his head anymore. So I don't know where all the water is coming from, but he'll just get out of the water while he's like, it's like he must have the shower still on, and he gets out and gets just water everywhere. And I'm like, can you just stay in there for 10 seconds before you get out? And he's like, you need to stop being so crazy. And I'm like, I know. But yeah, so that's my current pet peeve. And then I can share this other one from when I was young, and I want to know if it's everybody's pet peeve or not.
Let's hear it.
When you were in school and the teacher would erase the board but wouldn't get it all, and there would be little like bits of chalk or white, or dry erase, depending on what era you went to school. Did that bother you? I hated that.
That's interesting because no. Okay. What's your worst quality?
Peacemaker. That was easy.
What is the fitness gear you cannot live without?
I have these arch support hard inserts that I need in my sneakers in order to work out so my feet don't hurt. So like that is very specific to me. And then if you want another one that might apply to other people, since I recently got back into running, my knee has healed. I bought this black stretchy fabric. It's not really a belt, but it goes all the way around me. It feels like just like the bottom of a tank top, and it's really tight. So I can stick my phone in there or anything else that I need. And I love it because I don't like the phone on my arm. I prefer it in a pocket, but pocket feels unbalanced. So sticking it just like right in the middle so I can listen to my music or my podcast while I run, that's been.
So it's kind of like when you were pregnant, did you ever stick a Bella band on the top of your pants?
Yes, it's exactly like that. It's called Stash Bands, and I got it on Amazon.
Stash Bands. I am going to link to that in the show notes, everybody. Stash Bands. Mm-hmm. And what is the best advice you've ever received?
I think the best advice I've ever received is probably that there's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. You kind of just have to do it. And I remember stressing over like, when should we have a baby? That was like probably the biggest decision I ever made in my life. And Josh and I were talking about it, or I was talking about it with somebody at a party, and they were like, that's the kind of thing that like, you just don't know when it's going to happen or how long it might take. So you just kind of got to jump in. And, if you think you're ready, just do it. Because there's never a good time. There's always going to be something, but there's a wedding and I didn't want to be pregnant for that or this or that. You just kind of have to do it. So luckily, I was able to just do it. I feel like I follow that advice a lot.
I love it. So there's never a perfect time to do anything. Like so whenever you do it, just don't wait for perfect.
Exactly.
Okay. I love it. And the final question, what does empowerment mean to you?
To me, empowerment is an intrinsic thing that is sort of built with confidence and strength together, I think. So it builds over time, but not to say, and there's like all these different areas that we could be empowered in. So while it builds up over time, I think that there are areas that you can become empowered in if you let yourself go in that direction. Does that make sense?
A little. Can you say more? Can you give an example of where you're empowered? Like, how has this played out in your life? I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like 10 years ago, if you had said to me I was going to be a personal trainer, I would have laughed at you, but now I feel so passionate about fitness that I feel empowered to motivate others to become fit because it feels so good. Where, I didn't grow up, that built over, the last few years of my life. And so I guess I just don't want people to think that if you don't feel empowered at the moment over something that you're curious about, that's going to limit you. Allow your curiosity to kind of like bring you in another direction.
It's interesting. And would it be fair to say it's kind of like what you said before, trust yourself?
You could say that. Absolutely.
I love it. I might name this show Trust Yourself, episode 1 with Liz Willey.
Okay.
And finally, I'm going to post all of this in the show notes, but I want to know, can you tell us a little bit more about what you offer as a personal trainer? And I can vouch for Liz. Her classes are great. They're short. They pack a punch. She's fun. She's not like, well, I don't want to like bash person. And there's so many good trainers out there, but like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I want to mute you. I don't like what you're saying. I like listening to Liz. Her classes are great. And so I want to know what can people expect from your online classes or your Zoom? Like, what do you offer? Where can people find you online?
Okay. Thank you so much. People can find me. My website is www.lizwilley. It's WILLEY fitness.com. That's my website. And I have my schedule up there. While I am a personal trainer, I only have a few clients that I'm training personally at the moment, using Zoom. I don't have a lot of time for clients because of my kids not being in school or being in school very little. So what I'm offering is pretty much group fitness. We use Zoom. I offer 5 classes a week. 3 of them are in the mornings. They're at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're 40 minutes long. It's a warm-up. We do 9 exercises of high intensity work currently we're doing 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. And then we do 2 rounds of that. Then we do some core and then we cool down. And I send everybody a playlist and it's really fun. So for the mornings, I do the entire workout with the class. For my evening classes that I offer, those are at 6 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry. Those are at 5 p.m. Those I kind of coach you through. I don't necessarily do the entire workout with everyone. And I offer low intensity options if that is, needed. And then I offer ways to bump up the intensity, and it really flies and it's really fun. And every month I come up with new workouts. So, just to keep it fresh so we don't get bored. And, I think it's fun.
Yeah. So, and it is fun. And I want to just say to everyone listening, we are recording this just before Thanksgiving in 2020. This is subject to change. So I don't know when I'm going to post it. And you may be listening to this in the future, you can always, tell me if I got this right, Liz, but you can always find the most current information at lizwilleyfitness.com, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, great. And where can people find you on YouTube and on Instagram?
I don't know my Instagram handle.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. I don't know. There's a YouTube link. If you search Liz Willey Fitness in YouTube, you'll find my videos. I have a few, I have a growing collection of high intensity stuff. That's what I'm most comfortable with because that's what I started with. And I'm now working on adding in some weights. I actually just filmed a Instagram post using 2 laundry detergent containers because I'm all about people. If you want to get into fitness, I just don't want anything to hold you back. I don't want you to think you need the weights to do it. You don't need weights. So I purposefully went to the grocery store and bought 2 laundry containers, and I made an awesome leg workout that I'm still feeling. So yeah, I just feel like fitness can be for everybody. And I just want to inspire people and motivate them to kind of get into their best health to feel good.
I love it. I love it. And just thank you. Thank you for being my first guest and being awesome and being so vulnerable. And, it's not every day that people are like, you know what I want to do? I want to just talk about my fears and vulnerabilities and my complicated relationship with body image and alcohol for like really anybody that could possibly listen. I'm just going to put it all out there. So you rock and I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again for being here and to listening to my conversation with Liz Willey. If you liked what she had to share and you want to learn more about her, I know we said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Go check her out at lizwilleyfitness.com. That's LIZWILLEY fitness.com. Tons of good stuff there, including a link to her YouTube channel, which she has tons of just great free videos of workouts that you can do without any equipment. I felt like we covered so much ground in that conversation, but one of the biggest takeaways for me that I learned, which to be totally honest with you, I'm learning this podcasting thing as I go. She was the first person I officially interviewed for this pod in, oh my gosh, you guys, November. I don't know when you're going to actually be listening to this, but it's April. So that was November 2020 that Liz and I had the call. It is now, as I'm saying this outro, it is April 14th, 2021. And I don't know, why am I telling you this? Because, to tell you that all these months later, what I still really remember, I think the biggest gem of that call with Liz was what she had to say about trusting yourself and just going toward whatever it is that you feel in your heart that is calling to you. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but just going with it, letting your interests, letting your joy sort of guide you and see where that falls. I think that is just freaking fantastic advice. I can tell you from experience that it's just a beautiful thing to do. I started my blog in 2007 because I just thought it would be a cool thing to do. You might know this about me if you know me and you're listening, but if you don't, I was an occupational therapist. And in 2007, the blogging landscape was a lot like what I think the podcasting landscape looks like right now. It was a little bit uncharted. It was getting more popular. And I thought, you know what? I have things I want to talk about. I have things I want to say. I'm just going to try blogging. And I didn't have an end goal. I wasn't trying to build an audience. I wasn't trying to monetize. I was just trying to have a good time. And that was 2007. Fast forward, it was about 8 years later, about 2015, when I had my second child, and I had written a few guest posts. I'm not sure if I'd been paid to write yet, but at that point, the choice was go back to work as an occupational therapist in a healthcare setting or really try to make a go of it as a writer. And my husband was really encouraging me to follow my passion, which I had really developed over time. I'm not going to tell you that in 2007, when I started my blog, that I had a passion for writing. It was just something that interested me. But it grew from there. And today I have a regular gig writing for the Washington Post. I would have never imagined that would have happened to me when I started my blog in 2007. Over time, I'm not suggesting that you go back and read my early blog posts. They are downright embarrassing. But if you do, you're going to see that they kind of sucked.
and I grew just because I loved it and I just wanted to keep doing it. So Lizzie's advice, just go where your interests are and follow your instincts. That advice is spot freaking on. So if you take one thing from this episode, I hope that it's that. And if you take something else, if you do take that, whatever you take, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Shoot me an email, pam@pam-more.com. If you liked what Lizzie and I were talking about as far as like body image and finding joy in fitness, if that's something that you want to dive into a little bit more deeply, there's definitely content about that on my website, pam-more.com, including information about my body positive health coaching. If you want to live a life that's a little more free and a little more aligned with your values and a little less obsessed with food, body, and exercise, I'm here to help you with that. Anyways, if you like this podcast, please tell a friend and rate it and review it on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. That would mean a lot to me. It would also help other people find the pod. So until next time, have a great day and thanks again.